Let me turn that down a little bit. Please, anyone? Good team win. You know, the offense came out again. I think we scored a touchdown on our opening drive for the third straight week, which was encouraging. And defense was on its heels a little bit the first few drives. Had some guys open, and then offense goes and sputters around a little bit. Can't convert third down or fourth down on a couple drives. And you know, I was a bit nervous there when it was 7-7 in the first quarter. And you know, probably attribute maybe some of that to the rust of the off week, but it's my job to make sure that there's no such thing as rust, and didn't quite do that early in the first quarter. But the thing I told our guys was we responded. There wasn't anybody hanging their head. There wasn't anybody with anything other than confidence, exuding a ton of confidence, and hats off to our defense. Another game with 4 turnovers. And you know, held a really good offense that I believe last couple games we've been putting up 50 and 60 some odd points to really 7 points before we put the 2s and 3s in and finished with 14 points. So and then the offense clicked a little bit. Still got to get better in the red zone. Greg's got you know, we're calling some pass plays, and he's probably taken off a little bit too early, but those are all things that we can correct. And then obviously the penalties on special teams are still just immensely frustrating. I told our guys at halftime, if they're expecting a pat on the back for being up 42-7, then they're in the wrong program, because there was a lot of things that happened in that first half that were victims of poor technique and poor discipline and all that good stuff. And so challenged them at halftime to come out and play much more fundamentally sound and execute better, and I think we did that the few series that the starters at least were in there for the second half. So proud of our guys. We're going to celebrate this win with our family and friends, and then tomorrow's a work day, and we got to get ready for a really good Tulsa team that you know, I believe it had a week off this week, and so they've had 2 weeks to prepare for us. And you know, we're 0-0 in the American Athletic Conference right now, and our goal is to be 1-0 after this week.
Tom, when you guys were tied 7-7 there, I think between that point and the third quarter, you scored on 6 straight offensive drives and 7 total with William. What changed, or what do you attribute to just, you know, the offense? Was it just getting in gear at that point?
We played better. You know, that's one thing. I think, you know, the game plan going in was that we were going to take some shots, and we converted on some deep throws, which was encouraging to see. I think we were struggling to run the ball inside a little bit, and I think the offensive coaches adjusted very well. Quickly, didn't need a halftime to adjust, and we got the ball out on the perimeter, started throwing the ball a little bit. They were packing the box pretty good and making it very difficult for us to run the ball inside. And rather than be hard-headed and stubborn, we found other ways to move the football. And so the kids played better. We connected on some shots, and then the offensive staff did a good job adjusting.
Coach, expanding on that point, the sputtering just to begin the game, and then the floodgate opening up on offense.
Yeah, I don't know much more to say other than we, you know, we scored on the first drive, and then you know, those couple drives there after that were not real good, not indicative of who we are, and so we challenged our guys on the sideline, and they responded. You know, you know, there's we knew it was not going to be easy, and certainly even with the score being what it was, that was not an easy football game by any stretch, and the guys responded.
But between the targets and then using him on the runs, I think you had said a couple weeks ago that you wanted to get DeMarcus, you know, anywhere from maybe that 8 to 10 touch range. What he's doing for you production-wise, I mean, has he just worked his way into this as one of your, you know, go-to guys on that offense?
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that's got a tremendous amount of suddenness. He's turned himself into not just kind of an athlete out there, but he's a really crisp route runner. Has really gotten to the point where he's learning the intricacies of perfecting his craft at being a wide receiver first, and then getting him the ball on the bubbles and the sweeps and all that good stuff. You know, obviously getting him out in space is good for us.
Ward's connection to Harris tonight, it seemed that they had a early eyesight between one-on-one situation between two pretty much all night. Just talk about being able to recognize, Ward being able to recognize where Harris was.
Yeah, I think some of that was a product of good game planning by our offensive staff to put DA in positions to be one-on-one. We actually, second play of the game, I think Greg scrambled, but we had him one-on-one on a post corner that he was open, and Greg kind of got blinded by the offensive line and didn't see him. So we made a conscious effort to try to get him the ball one-on-one, and then Greg did a good job of finding him.
Coach, can we talk a little bit about the injury to number 12 there? Do you see how serious it might be? And
yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
how serious that injury to a backup quarterback is when your quarterback is a running quarterback and exposes himself to the run a little bit?
Yeah, it's, I mean, the first thought that goes through your mind is not about the team and its effect on the team. It's about the young man, and so I don't know anything preliminarily. Obviously, didn't look good anytime a guy's got to get helped off the field, and you know you're examining his knee. That's never a good thing. So would anticipate him being out for a while, if not longer. But we'll know more tomorrow when we get an MRI and all that good stuff. But and then its effect on the team. You know, we're gonna have to move Kyle Postma back to quarterback, and you know, which is fine. Kyle was doing well at that position, but where it probably hurts us the most is then our depth at wide receiver. We moved Kyle there for a reason to wide out because we were thin at wide receiver. And so now if we're moving back to the quarterback room, that takes, not only does it take a playmaker off the field for us, but now it heightens the sense of urgency for a couple of those guys in that receiver room to step up.
Can you comment on the offensive line? I know earlier this week you had to make some changes because of Bennon's injury. Just if you're happy with I guess where you put on there.
Yeah, I thought they played great for having to adjust. I mean, 689 yards on 78 plays and 366 yards rushing. You know, that's something that hasn't been done around here in a long time. And, you know, for them to do it being kind of piecemeal together in a week and a half, I thought they responded really, really well. Without watching the film, I'm sure we made a bunch of mistakes, as we always will. You know, I mean, those are common, but I felt them in the run game, and I felt them in pass protection, and thought they responded to the challenge of kind of picking up the sword when one of their guys went down, and they did it well.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about what it means for you to be a part of an offense that put up 42 points in the first half, which is the most this team has seen in a long time?
Yeah, you know, we had a pick six as part of that too, which was good there towards the end of the half, and so yeah, I think we had a ton of yards at halftime. I think 468 or something ridiculous like that at halftime, and so it was encouraging to see the kids after we sputtered a little bit. I say kids, the young men go out and execute the game plan at a pretty high level.
Coach, expand on that also. The defense today looked like they were more prepared for pretty much whatever was put in front of them, whether it was running or passing. You mentioned the pick six, guys being in position to get in INTs and cut Texas State off.
Yeah, we you know, credit Coach Orlando and Coach Niver and that defensive staff. There weren't a whole lot of calls in this game because of how multiple and you know, three of probably the top 4 or 5 things that can tax a defense mentally and in terms of assignments. One is obviously your triple option assignments, and this team runs some triple option and runs it well. 2 are unbalanced formations, which This team has a ton of unbalanced formations, and so that creates extra gaps in the run game, and we've got to be sound in terms of knowing who's eligible, who's ineligible when they're in unbalanced formations, and I thought we did well there. And then, they kind of major in that run-pass option stuff where it's a run play with guys, running pass routes, and the quarterback can pull it out and throw it to them at any time. And so those are three things that, are just extremely mentally challenging for a defensive unit. And Coach Orlando and Coach Niver, I think they had one call, I think it was, automatic check or whatever, basically on first and second down the whole night, and we were going to line up and play their tendencies based on formations, and our guys did a nice job of executing that.
Tom, in the first half, when it was still, relatively close, they had 2 catches that went for first down that ended up fumbling inside your 20, I believe, both times. But the significance of that and how big was to kind of change it, knowing that they were right there, on the doorstep of it.
It's huge, yeah. Any time you can get a turnover is obviously is big, but knowing that they were kind of driving on us and on the verge of making the game closer was a testament to our defense kind of bowing up and creating those turnovers at a very opportune time. Anytime you get a turnover again is great, but I think you're on point there, Joseph. That game could have been a lot different had those drives resulted in points, and instead they resulted in turnovers and momentum swings in our favor.
Coach, after the first game, there were some concerns about the secondary maybe falling off a little bit, giving up a bunch of yards. Can you talk about their improvement in the last couple games and where they've come?
Yeah, the first game was, again, we had 3 huge plays in that first game that were, again, not a guy thinking the call was left when it was right, or it wasn't a true blown assignment. It was a guy that knew the coverage, knew what his responsibility was, but just didn't execute it, and that was a concern. But I think, in recent weeks they've really stepped up and cut those mental mistakes down to a minimum.
Coach, first half, 9 penalties, was that more of an aberration, an albatross?
The first half what?
The first half of tonight's game, the 9 penalties and then only 1 in the second half, was that more of an aberration that you hope that's gone out the
I hope it is. Obviously, we've it's an issue that's now 3 weeks running. So that's obviously Albert Einstein said the definition of insanity is repeatedly performing the same task, expecting different results. And so we're going to have to go back to the drawing board, myself as a head coach and our staff, to figure out why these things are happening. We know it's a problem. We've got to figure out, we've got to get to the root of that problem and put a stop to it. But like you said, I challenged them at halftime to go out and execute better, and obviously it showed, and we did.
Tom, is it just a one game on Adams?
Matt, yes, yep.
Is there anything you can elaborate on, or?
No, just team rules deal.
Anything else?
Thanks.